Hello everyone, this is Wylam here. In today's Fuji Friday, we're going to be going over the firmware update for the Fuji X-T3. This is version 2.0, so it's a major enhancement. We got a lot of cool features in the 2.0 firmware, so we're going to go ahead and go over all of them. So it's very easy to update the X-T3. All you have to do is hit the display button, turn on your camera. This will bring you to a special screen. You can say yes, the camera body, and then you want to update to version 2.0. Just let that go. Once the camera is done updating, all you have to do is turn off the camera and turn it back on, and you are good to go. Now in the firmware update, there's actually several of them that we can't test, or it's really not worth testing and putting a video out for. Specifically for me, what I'm not going to be testing is the dual recording feature that's coming out. There is actually some limitations to that, so definitely read up on that if you actually are interested in the dual recording. Chief amongst which is that you need an external recorder, which I don't have, so that's why I'm not testing it. But for anybody who's doing professional recording that needs a backup, this is definitely a great feature for you, but definitely read the limitations on this because there are quite a few. The next feature that I will not be testing is all of the shutter speed settings that you can now use in DCI 4K and also standard 4K. I don't really see a need to actually try to record all of them. I'm just going to assume that they all work, and you can just choose whichever one that you want to record in and be happy with the results. The first feature that we're going to be looking at is the new Kelvin icon. So if you go into your color balance and you select a color balance, so what you'll notice right here is the white balance will show up on your display, and it'll also show up on your EVF iCup. Now, the interesting thing is, just like with the XH1, if you set it to auto, the icon actually automatically disappears. So nothing's going to be displayed if you use auto white balance. But if you use any of the other presets, it will show up right there. The next thing to talk about is external power. They did add an external power icon. So if you plug in external power like my Anchor right here, what you'll see is that there is an external power icon that's showing up to tell you that you're using external power. And of course, the camera works just like normal. Here I'm starting a recording, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and unplug it. It's still recording, and then what I'm going to do is plug it back in. And as you can see, the icon appears back and my recording is still going, so everything works well. Another great feature that they added in is that in the menu systems, when you're using H.264 in the movie compressions, now you can choose all eyes. So before you can only use long op, which is a lower grade color grading compression, but now you can actually capture all of the frames, which is going to be great for anybody who wants to do a little bit of color grading using H.264. Obviously, H.264 is going to be a little bit easier on your computer when you're color grading. This is the reason why people would do it. Now, if you want 10-bit, you're going to have to upgrade to the H.265, which is going to be much tougher on your computer, but you can select the same options. The last feature that I want to talk about is HLG, which is hybrid log gamma. This is basically the broadcast implementation of HDR, which is high dynamic range. This is something that's pretty exciting because a lot of smartphones, a lot of computers, and newer TVs are actually supporting this broadcast standard. Now, in order to turn this on, we're going to go into the menu system. We're going to need to select H.265 because this is the only one that's supported. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go all the way down to F-Log HLG recording. You're going to select over, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the bottommost one. As you can see, it tells us that only H.265 works. Once we select that, we are good to go. Now, one of the things that you'll notice when you start recording in HLG format is that it's going to be a very flat picture profile. This is kind of a F-Log type recording because you're going to try to record the most amount of color information that you can. So this is definitely a picture profile where you're going to have to color grade it in post. This is going to add additional workflow, but unfortunately this is the only way that you're going to get that high dynamic range. Is it going to be worth it? That's really up to you in your video recording style. Unfortunately for today, I really don't have a high dynamic range scenario because it's kind of overcast outside. but I can kind of show it to you like this. As you can see, even with this recording, with this bright sunlight in a very dark warehouse, you can actually see a lot of detail as I'm backing up into this dark area. So there is definite benefits to having high dynamic range. Unfortunately for my tests, especially for today, I really can't do a whole bunch of scenarios that I would like to do. The last thing that I want to cover for HLG is how to export it to YouTube. There are specific things that you need to do. You can't just use the presets that are already in Adobe Premiere Pro or whatever video editing software that you'll be using. So I'm going to cover the changes that you're going to need to make in order to get the right metadata into the header of your video, so that when you actually upload it to YouTube, people can actually see that video in HLG format, which obviously they need a compatible device. So let's go ahead, jump right in and see what you need to change. So as you can see right here, I have Adobe Premiere Pro opened. I have my simple little clip and I have my color adjustments already in. What I need to do now is I need to go to File. I'm going to go to Export Media. Once the export setting is up, you can select H.264. You can go ahead and select the YouTube 4K preset, but we're going to be modifying this. In the Videos tab right here, we're going to scroll down, and what we're looking for is we're going to change this to high 10, which basically tells the encoder we want 10-bit color, and then we can select Rec 2020, and then we want high dynamic range. And for good measure, we can also select this. At this point, you can go ahead and export your file, and that video file will be in HLG format, and YouTube will recognize it. So anybody with a compatible device will be able to see your video in HLG format. Anybody else, they're just going to get the standard color grading. So those are all of the enhancements for the X-T3. Now, if you've been watching this channel, you'll know that one of the enhancements that I was looking forward to, which is the removal of the 4 GB limits for video recording, didn't make it into this release. It looks like it's going to be making it into the next patch, which is probably going to be sometime in 2019. Hopefully it comes soon, but I know it is coming. So that's going to be really nice. It's already implemented in the X-H1. I'm just assuming that Fujifilm's ran out of time, and they did want to push out a release before the end of the year. Anyways, that's all I have to report for this week. If you have any feedback for me, please leave in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.